Today we are yet witnessing another horrific attack done on the London Bridge. But first we will, through the Telegraph, listen to a video clip where we will have people talking about this issue and listen to the statements that were made. And then I will make my own comments.
Oh my God!
At 10:08 last night, we began to receive reports that a vehicle had struck pedestrians on London Bridge. The vehicle continued to drive then from London Bridge to Borough Market. The suspects left the vehicle attempting to stab a number of people, including an on-duty British Transport Police officer who was responding to the incident, and he received serious injuries, fortunately not life-threatening. Armed response officers then responded very quickly and bravely and confronted the three male suspects who were shot and killed in Borough Market within 8 minutes of the first call.
People, running, screaming, and then, the police sirens came in.
And then they started to tell us to evacuate.
And then they told everyone to evacuate. So as we looked out, we were on the third floor. As we looked out our window, we're seeing people running and evacuating.
I picked up some passengers. There was two passengers. Apparently they came out of the Black and Blue restaurant, and how they described it to me was they were preventing the guys from getting into the restaurant. She managed to hold the door for a few seconds, but then I think they're overpowered, so they managed to escape from the rear door.
I'm appalled and furious that these cowardly terrorists would deliberately target innocent Londoners and bystanders enjoying their Saturday night. There can be no justification for the acts of these terrorists, and I'm quite clear that we will never let them win, nor will we allow them to cower our city or Londoners.
It is now being confirmed, sadly, that 7 members of the public have died. In the early hours of this morning, I visited one of the hospitals where the injured are being treated. There I heard truly remarkable stories of extraordinarily brave actions by officers on and off duty who were first on the scene.
This is, as we all know, the third terrorist attack Britain has experienced in the last 3 months. We cannot and must not pretend that things can continue as they are. The whole of our country needs to come together to take on this extremism, and we need to live our lives not in a series of separated, segregated communities, but as one truly united kingdom.
So we could go on forever and talk about why Islam is dangerous, why these Islamic terrorist attack, this isn't just extremism, this is the very core of Islam, to expand and conquer the world, to spread peace. But let's not talk just about what Islam is. Let's talk about why Britain is being targeted so ferociously and about the implications it will have on the lives of Britain going forward if we don't do anything drastic to change this problem, to address this issue. The issue is that this ideology is being sponsored by Mother Merkel. They have been brought in through the European Union to Europe. But in the past, these Muslim empires, the Ottoman Arabic Empire, the Caliphate, they have tried to come in here with brute force. But they have realized that they can't conquer us through war, so they try to colonize us instead, immigrate legally. This strategy have certainly been effective. They have come in here in their thousands and thousands and thousands, and who knows how many millions of them are in here now. I haven't kept up to count, but I can tell you it's far more than before. I think in Sweden today we have about 300,000 Muslims. For like 100 years ago there was about 0. So the number has increased infinitely. Why is Britain being so targeted compared to Sweden and other countries Because there was, for not too long ago, I had to make a video about Manchester attack. But now they're making an attack in London once again. Because for not too long ago, we had an attack on Westminster Bridge. And people talked about that. Well, the reason is Brexit. They're leaving the European Union, which means they can eventually, not immediately, because I think they are still in agreements that they have to take in refugees. But the core of it is that they can't take in any more of their soldiers, any more of their militants that comes in, or people simply from Africa that poses as refugees, as I stated in the last talk video, that they come here as refugees, but you know, these are people they can convert. Won't get into it too deep, but the terrorists aren't the only one making a statement with the Brexit. Also, the EU Parliament does. They're trying to intimidate Britain that you can't live without us. You should be with us. Otherwise, your economics will crumble. Your very society will crumble. You can't function without us. But we are sovereign countries. We can do whatever we goddamn please. Any country that's in this union has its own right to govern itself, not being dictated through the big governments of the European Union. We are sovereign countries, and that's the end of it. And they should respect anyone's decision leaving the EU, not trying to be control freaks. But no, they are founded by globalists for the globalist purpose. It's the agenda for world government. And with Britain leaving the EU, they are tremendously wounding this idea. So they intend to scare and spew out propaganda until people will force it to revert back. They want people to fall into Stockholm syndrome, to be afraid of these Muslims, to bow down to these idiotic rules, rather than standing up for themselves and taking back their country. The European Union is nothing but bullies, and Britain should be proud of its decision to leave. But instead, they are trying to cause a sheer divide in Northern Ireland, in Scotland, that they want to be independent all of a sudden. It used to be better to be in a bigger country, but all of a sudden, it's far better to just leave the Great Britain. Because the more countries in the EU, the better. The more the identity politics are, the better. They couldn't care less if they had 1,000 or 10,000 laws concerning identity groups. They couldn't care. It's only better, it's only empowering their stupid communistic agenda. So obviously, they can't continue to deconstruct the Western image of this white world, so this white society. They want to force this multiculturalism. They want to change the face of how Europeans look in the first place and tell them, you got a different culture now. And that is of Islam. Just look how much they have been protected by police. You can't even criticize them. In some countries it's even totally illegal, like in France and Canada. Why is this? Well, they are being protected for identity politics purposes. I think it's a mantle in the first place from the globalists to get them in here and eventually just ban religion altogether. I used to work as a janitor, and we had apartments to make sure they were alright and, maintenance job. But it was suffering through gangs of immigrants that hanged outside its doors. They were about 8 people, and they were throwing trash everywhere and harassing people that lived there, smoked cannabis, things like that. But the police didn't do anything. It was like, you're safe inside the apartments. When I quit, I heard there was even more, like 15 to 30 people that was there every single day of the week. And I mean, they were openly doing drugs. And I mean, people came up to me even trying to offer me drugs because, well, I sort of look like a poor guy. So they figured, oh, this guy might be into drugs, man. But anyways, for not too long ago, I visited my friend and looked if he was all right, because these people threatens them for just cleaning up the place when they steal furnitures to sit and hang and do their drugs. They were all gone now because police finally did something. They came as civil police and started to arrest people. And what I mean by this has pretty much nothing to do with Great Britain. But the thing is, they haven't been there ever since. His job has been so much easier and safer to do thanks to these gangs having left the area. They're not hanging there anymore. They don't have any power. And they found even plastic bags where you had drugs in these electrical rooms where they had no access to go. But still, how they got those special keys and access, who knows? That can only be given through the main office because everything is centralized, like communist government in the company, which is, well, Sweden is sort of inspired by that nowadays. But what I mean is that if the police would really try, they could make these crimes go away. They could really stop radical Islam terror if people took action, because people are afraid. I remember the Paris attackers hiding, and they were, oh no, I'm so afraid. They might get me, they hate me so much. I mean, of course, you just killed a bunch of people that was unarmed and attacked them. These Muslims are cowards. They can only attack people that is unarmed. They don't go to a military base and strike them. They don't go into a police station and attack them. No, they have to attack civilian pedestrians, like they did here, with 9-inch knives and started to stab them. An Australian woman got stabbed in the throat, and there was another guy that got stabbed in the face. It was just insane. And these attacks are just gonna continue, because they are, in fact, leaving the European Union, which are part of the globalist agenda, which also bolsters the Islamic agenda, or to say, the Catholic. But that's what I think, that the globalists are just using the Muslims as a tool to spread fear, to make things like a police state. For example, Britain now, they had police and the armed military on the streets as a response. This is for them to make these people that goes unarmed on their streets asking for more security. We don't want more security, we want these people gone, because these people want to take away our identity as a people. They don't want to say, oh, this is a Christian land. No, they want it to become a Muslim land. And they don't even need to hide behind Taqiyya anymore. They can just do an attack, and we're gonna have, like that mayor you saw on the video, that terrorism is just a part and parcel with living in a big society. You have to get used to living with terrorists if you're gonna live in a big city. And that this can't divide us. We will never let that happen. Rather than calling out Islamic terrorism, this guy is trying to protect these Muslims that are attacking. I don't see him taking a really strong stance to this, denouncing their evil acts, calling them out, and understanding his faith, what they're trying to do. No, he wants them to succeed. That's why he doesn't take a strong stance. This guy does not belong in the office of Mayor of London, nor does that justice minister who wants to bring millions and millions and hundreds of millions of pounds to Islamic groups in Pakistan, throughout the entire Middle East, rather than to focus on the British people and its needs, rather than to wishing having a prime minister of the same faith as he, or the entire parliament of being Muslim. And this is something the justice minister has said by himself in Great Britain. But now when you go out to Twitter, etc., and when you talk to your friends, don't just say hashtag London Bridge, hashtag pray for London Bridge, or whatever they're gonna write, because that isn't helping jack shit anyone. Or having a vigil. I mean, the symbolism is nice, to pay respects to the dead, but it isn't really paying respect. You're just saying, oh, let's excuse this, let's not have anger in our hearts towards these Muslim terrorists that killed our brothers and sisters. Just don't excuse that there's a minority of these. Yes, there's about 20 to 30% in each country. That's not really a small minority. That's quite a huge number. And there's over 23,000 jihadists, 800 that are being constantly surveillanced. And then they have over thousands on the watch list. Rather than just having them on these lists, take action. Because otherwise, these attacks will happen again and again and again and again. Because they are not afraid to make a statement with these attacks, whether you get it or not. This could have happened anywhere, perhaps where Macron is. No, of course not, because he's gonna support his foolishness to the utmost. He takes money from the Saudis and etc. But instead, try to ask for internment camps. Lock these people up. Stop with the immigration. Respect your sovereignty, your nation, your history, your very ethnicity. Because eventually you'll be singled out in your own society. You will become the minority. That's what multiculturalism does. You're being colonized, you're being replaced. Ask the Indians in America how that went for them. Not that they had a choice, but you'll understand my meaning, because they are now forced to live into these reserves, or whatever to call them. I don't think that these civilizations that wasn't as advanced as ours wanted to give up their land for foreigners. But history is what it is, and it should not be repeated. And we should stand up for ourselves and stop being apologists. Stop saying, oh, it's not in their nature, they are not wanting to do this. You can't say they are hateful. There's nothing more hateful than Islam that cuts off people's head, they mutilate people, and they want to bring it here. They want to rape children. And this is just gonna come here. We're gonna adopt these sick medieval fantasies into our societies. We will lose our way of life. The very identity of Europe will be forever gone because we allow this filth to come in. It's time to take a strong stance. And if people won't do that, well, good luck. Then you have let the intolerant win to take and conquer your homes. And if someone is gonna be pathetic enough and say, oh, you're just hateful, you're just feeding on fear, well, what the hell are you doing then? You're just sitting and letting these tyrants walk all over you and kill your children. This has been proven over and over and over again. And people like me have warned about things like this from even before the immigration started. And they were called biased. They were called racist. No, it's freaking common sense. Use your brain for once and have it sink in that not every people of the world, not every culture of the world fit in together. I could probably go on like this forever, so I'm gonna stop it there. But please be mindful of what you try to do for the future of your fellow brothers and sisters. With these policies we have in today's world, the world will crumble upon our own heads.